I don't know about you, but quite frankly, I stopped reading the gospel lesson after verse 30. I raced through the story about Jesus healing the man from Sidon's speech impediment so I could return to pondering why in the world Jesus called this woman a dog. Indeed, the story itself is enough for one sermon. So that's where I want us to focus this morning. Why does Jesus treat her this way? And why in the world does he call her a dog? Is he testing her faith? Did he say what he said as a joke to teach her a lesson? Was he having a human moment when short temper brought a comment he might later regret? Is he converted here in some way, or at least persuaded by the woman's blunt response? Some feminist theologians say that this is the turning point in Jesus' ministry, which indeed it is, when he turned his attention not just to his Jewish brothers and sisters, but he took it out further into God's diverse humanity to the Gentiles, who are considered dogs, if you will, in the worst sense of the word, by the Jewish people. Lots of ways to look at it. But this morning I want to focus on one possibility. The word dog, indeed, was sometimes a Jewish term of contempt for Gentiles. But it's possible that Jesus used a word that described not the wild dogs of the street, but the little lapdogs of the house. Remember, she says, even the lapdogs come and eat the crumbs from the child's table. So it's possible that in this case, Jesus might have used an affectionate word like pooch, taking the sting out of the word. And of course, without a doubt, his tone of voice would make all the difference too. The same word can be a deadly insult and an affectionate address just by how it is said. We could call a man an old rascal, and we could say it in a voice of contempt, or we could say it in a voice of affection. In any event, Jesus did not shut the door on this woman. First, he said, the children must be fed, but only first. There is meat left for the household pet, the pooch. And true, Israel had the first offer of the gospel, but only the first. Others were still to come. And that's important to see. The woman was a Greek now, and the Greeks had a gift for debate. She saw at once that Jesus was speaking with a smile. She saw the doors swinging on its hinges. Now, in those days, people did not have knives or forks or table napkins. They ate with their hands, wiped their soiled hands on chunks of bread, and then flung the bread away, and the household dogs, pooches, ate it. So the woman said, I know the children are fed first, but can't I even get the scraps the children throw away? And Jesus loved her. And now he gives her what she wants, not because she has great faith, but because she's able to argue with him. For saying that, Jesus says, you may go, the demon has left your daughter. Why is this story here? What does it mean for us today? I mean, Jesus heals other people, commends them for their faith. Jesus heals this woman's daughter just because she put up a good argument. In fact, this woman is the only person in the entire Gospel of Mark who wins an argument with Jesus. Why is this story here? I think this woman is challenging Jesus. Is your love as wide and broad as you claim? Will you practice what you've been preaching and teaching, Jesus? Is there a wideness to God's love, to God's mercy, even for Gentiles, even for women, even for... Make it even wider. Make it even wider, people. Is there a wideness to God's mercy and love? Yesterday, Paul and I decided to have a late lunch, and we hopped on the motorcycle, and mine's here. I hopped on the back of his, and we rode up the lake shore to a delightful restaurant on 61, Clearwater Cafe. If you've ever been up there or ever had the chance, it's just a great place. And the weather was perfect. We were able to sit outside and eat our lunch there. But before we were able to get there, we were driving through downtown Duluth and got caught up, or slowed down, if you will, by Pride weekend. It was Pride weekend in Duluth. Now, if you don't know what Pride is, it's a celebration of the great diversity of gender and sexuality in human beings. And everybody from the LGBTQ community were there: gays, lesbians, transgendered, bisexual, and queer. Queer has been reclaimed by the LGBTQ community to indicate people who don't fit into any of those other gendered categories. There's a wideness to God's creation. There's a wideness to gender in humanity. Is God's love even that wide? To welcome that great diversity of people that we were caught up in on our motorcycle as we tried to get out of downtown Duluth to this lovely restaurant on the North Shore. Is there? There is a wideness to God's mercy. We sing about it all the time. That seems to be the final theme song to this story. There's a wideness to God's mercy. Ever hear that hymn? Have you sung it? We do have it in the hymn book. I don't know if we know that tune. It sums up both stories in today's gospel line with this: the love of God is broader than the measures of the mind, and the heart of the eternal is most wonderfully kind. Yes, God reaches out to every prodigal son, every Samaritan, to women at wells, to tax collectors and Pharisees, to every unnamed Gentile woman now, and every talkative man from Sidon, and yes, to every LGBTQ person that we saw in that Pride celebration yesterday, and yes, even to every one of us. There's a wideness to God's mercy. Next Sunday is Rally Day, and you begin a new year of education ministries. What are we teaching our children? What are we teaching each other about the wideness of God's love? Let's share that good news of God's wide, wide mercy, wide enough to include us all, wide enough to include every single person you will ever meet. And so, like the man from Sidon whose muteness was healed, let our mouths be opened. And like the woman from Tyre, let us speak with boldness of the wideness of God's mercy.